This is the Chase Carter Concept Podcast, May 26th, Tuesday. Just seeing how everyone's doing, seeing how I'm doing. What has happened to me lately? Not too much, but let's see what I've been watching. I watched that golf match between Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Tiger Woods, and Tony Hawk. No, I'm just kidding. Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson. If I can talk correctly. Tony Hawk needs to... I saw him on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he said he never works... Basically says never works out. Elite athlete? Nah, never work out. I do some stretching. That's about it. My workout is what I do for a living on the skateboard. Kind of let me down a little bit. I thought maybe he might... I was watching it to see maybe he can... Maybe does some ankle strengthening, some calf, some, but no, he just skateboards. But anyway, I always wondered why during this whole shutdown did golf have to shut down? If I could think of a sport that distances itself more, there's so much space required to play golf. We all could be watching. Golf could be killing it right now, especially with these talking shit, going back and forth type of golf matches. If they get famous people on the golf course, let's not go crazy and have it like every day, but on Sunday, have a pro, have some famous sports. I want to see Michael Jordan out there talking shit. I want to see, of course, Charles Barkley. I was just going to see the list of all basketball people. I want to see like Roger Federer, like Steph Curry. Steph Curry said he wanted to play in the next one. But just athletes that talk crap, but who also play golf. I don't want to see anyone out there who plays like me, basically. But that would be, and then they bet. Oh, it'd be so good. It'd be so good. I still don't understand why it's shut down. Just get rid of the fans. Play normal golf. Get rid of the fans. It'll be great. I don't even like golf that much. I don't like it. I wouldn't watch it hardly ever. But I'd be watching it right now. The fans, they even tell the fans to shut up during a normal golf game. Just get rid of them. Just dub in the audio of people clapping. It's unbelievable. But anyway, so let's keep it on sports here. There was Mike Tyson is talking about a comeback, which is scary to think about if Mike Tyson was 25 years old again. We've seen, now I want to caveat this with I have no idea about boxing. I have no idea about fighting. But as a fan of the sport, haven't we already seen Mike Tyson, old Mike Tyson? This is the old Mike Tyson, not the old Mike Tyson. Fight and not have fun fights. Not just get beat up. I don't want to see an old man get beat up. Now, if he's fighting another old man, I don't want to see two old men fight. After the first few rounds, do you know how not in shape they're going to be? Now, if they get on I need performance enhancing drugs for talking. But if they get on some PEDs, maybe it's more entertaining. And they kind of don't care. Mike and whoever it's going to be, just fight. We're not going to test you. This is fine. That might be interesting because I don't know what a 50-year-old man does on PEDs. I know what like an old 30, 40-year-old Mike Tyson without PEDs. Well, maybe he was on PEDs. Who knows? We don't know. But it's just kind of like the only thing exciting about this, if at all it happens, is probably going to be the entrances and the pre-fight hype videos showing Mike Tyson's old fights. It's the only thing that I believe that's going to be exciting about the fight. And then Evander Holyfield comes out and shows us a video of him jumping rope and hitting mitts. Are these old guys just bored? Are they bored or are their agents and all the businesses that these boxers own. Are their agents or business managers coming to them and saying, hey, there's nothing going on right now at all. If you announce your comeback at all, even if you're not going to do it, it's going to promote you and it's going to promote whatever businesses you're connected to. It's a little conspiracy theory I got going on. I was listening to, switching gears to basketball, my favorite. I was listening to a podcast and Matt Barnes was talking. It was he was listening, him, Bill Simmons, and Captain Jack. What's his name? Steven Jackson. I like that guy. They were talking about Chris Paul being on the Clippers. Matt Barnes was when he was on the Clippers, and the chemistry of the team. And he says CP3 was too hard on Blake and DeAndre Jordan, and DeAndre Jordan and Blake took it too personal. And CP3 was a old school, quote unquote, Michael Jordan-esque type of competitor. And it's funny because it's these young players that are watching this doc and they're tweeting out inspiration, the GOAT, Michael Jordan was the best, blah, 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 blah. But if those young guys were on that team, would they really enjoy themselves? Because Michael Jordan on the Wizards didn't change his style, didn't change his ways. He was still the old Michael Jordan. He just wasn't as good. And there's a lot of teammates on that organization. A lot of his teammates. I was trying not to say a lot of his teammates on that team. But on that team, there were people who didn't like him because he wasn't as good, but he still had that same intensity. So if you're not as good and you have that same asshole tendencies, are people really going to put up with it? When you're older, no. When you're younger, yes. So while he's the greatest, the clear-cut greatest, I'm gonna go back for my next podcast and I'm gonna rewatch Michael Jordan's Playground. It's a video that came out a little bit before. I think it was like 90 before he won championships, I believe. And there's all these interviews. I watched a little bit of it last night, and there's a lot of funny videos of Karl Malone, Isaiah Thomas. They interviewed all these guys. Chris Mullin. There's all these funny. It's so corny and funny. Like that today, all of his music, all of the music, like it's Michael. It's like this kid. It's basically Michael Jordan's story. They got actors to play this kid who got cut from his high school team. He's playing at a playground by himself. And he has a bad attitude, and then Michael Jordan comes up and sets him straight. And it's like, look, you got to work harder, blah, blah, blah. Like I did. I got cut from my high school team, whatever. But they didn't say that Michael Jordan went on to JV and averaged 30 points a game. So they didn't say that. They're acting like Michael Jordan was spent the summer just by himself dribbling. I'm like, no, he played basketball. He played on a team. He was fine. And then there's this other funny video I saw. It's I'm thinking about making a video. It's Michael Jordan dancing with Michael Jackson. And then there's another video, terribly, obviously, because he's not a dancer. And he's dancing to Michael Jackson. So anyone's going to look terrible. He did some hip hop video for Michael Jordan's Playground. I forget the name of the song and everything, but it's so corny and terrible. And it's this huge hip hop group. I think Kid or Play. I can't remember which one's which. But Kid or Play's in it. He's got the high top fade. And he's the only one I recognize. But there's like 20 other people in this group. Like one is like a dance specialist, and then there's two girls that sing. Lisa, and I can't remember. But I wanted to, like, this is the last dance, and it should be the last dance type of thing. And it's Michael Jordan dancing. Or something along those lines. I can't really think of it right now. But I thought that would be funny. But yeah, it was interesting to hear Matt Barnes talk about CP3 in that way. He compliments him, one of the best point guards ever, but then not criticizes it, but like if you have people on your team who aren't susceptible to being talked to like that and being yelled at, shouldn't you change up your leadership strategy? And it was very interesting because in the same interview, he said Kobe was a better lead. It was Kobe and Tim Duncan because Bill Simmons said he'd rather have Tim Duncan from the start of his career than Kobe Bryant. Because Tim, it's basically, if you have Tim Duncan, you're in the playoffs every year. You're always contending. The role players around him, and he's more calm. He's more laid back. There's not going to be altercations with Tim Duncan. But then Steven Jackson chimed in and said, I'd rather have Kobe because Tim always had pop to yell and to get on people and to be that vocal leader because Tim wasn't going to say too much. But I think he didn't bring up, I think Bill Simmons said this in a follow-up podcast. I listened to way too many podcasts, by the way. He said, but Kobe had Phil Jackson. And Phil Jackson was calm like Tim Duncan. So I think he provided the other side of that. I think you have to have a balance on a team. You have to have the aggressive. You have to have all sorts of different people. But you have to have someone who's calm, cool, and collected, who you can count on. And then you have to have someone who kind of lights that fire. So Kobe was the fire guy. He got people riled up, and then Phil Jackson would be the person to calm them down. I think the same thing with Jordan. Jordan and Kobe were the same. Phil was the same. Cool, calm, and collected. Triple C. And Tim Duncan was the Phil Jackson. He was the calm, cool, and collected guy. I'm saying calm, cool, and collected way too much. He was the normal guy. Well, what other thing can I say? I can't think of other adjectives for it. But it's just interesting how they're smart enough to see that, but then maybe they just didn't think of it in the time. I'm not too sure. But it's interesting. Who would you rather have, Kobe Bryant on your team or Tim Duncan? The greatest power forward ever, or the second greatest shooting guard of all time, Kobe? It's kind of interesting. Like, you can't compare. You can't say Jordan's better than Kobe because without Jordan, there would be no Kobe because he emulated himself so much of Jordan. It's just, I don't know. You can't have any of these players without the players that come before. You wouldn't have like Trae Young without Steph. Trae Young would not be in the league if it wasn't for Steph Curry. A small, young, ball handling, ball dominant. Or even like Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum. It's kind of weird. Yeah, the young players praising Jordan kind of got me a little upset because they're not the most sensitive people in the world, but just they seem like if anyone challenges them, if anyone says anything about them, they're very. But then again, Jordan was sensitive. You can say something nice about Jordan, and he would freak out and hold a grudge for decades. That's another thing. I don't understand why people criticize the young. I think it's just people in general. You're going to have people who are tough and people who are sensitive. But all these young players get criticized for being sensitive, and yet Michael Jordan, George Karl walks by him in a restaurant, and Michael Jordan takes that personal. He didn't even say anything to you. And all these different little slights. And of course the ones he had to make up. That's for a different reason. But it's real weird. And then also, I was listening to a podcast. Jackie McMullen was talking. I can't remember which one it was. But she says she has tapes, and I think I saw an article today or yesterday that she has Michael Jordan on tape saying he told Rod Thorne, who was, I guess, running the Olympic team, I won't play if Isaiah Thomas is on the team. And then in that documentary, The Last Dance, Michael Jordan says, I never even said Isaiah Thomas's name. Either he's obviously lying or it's just like anybody else. Well, I don't remember saying that. Of course, it's 30 years ago. You're not going to remember everything you say. But in 2000, I think the article with Jackie McMullen, it was 2011. So he remembered then. But in this documentary, he says he didn't say anything. But they spoke of it. He didn't say Isaiah Thomas's name, but it's like the character in Harry Potter. You don't say his name. You know who better not be on this team. Okay, I didn't say his name, so I'm innocent in all this. It's like you kept Isaiah Thomas off the team because basically half of the team didn't like him, and that's fine. But just say you didn't like him. Oh, and Paul Pierce said LeBron James isn't one of the top 5 best players of all time. He's not one of them. Not even in the top 5. And then he said some argument he might not be even in the top 10. Now, as a hot take former professional basketball player, Paul Pierce, Hall of Famer. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. For him to say this, obviously, it gets a lot of traction. It gets a lot of eyeballs, which is his job. It's a Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless type of media talkhead. He's just going to say things to get people riled up so then people talk about it because there is nothing to talk about right now. If you were to just come out and say, yeah, LeBron James is 2 or 3, no one would really have anything to say. But for him to keep him off is so... It questions his credibility so much that if he says anything, people aren't going to take it to heart. If he had facts to back it up, if you want to say LeBron James isn't in the top 3 or 4, like if you look at just at what he's doing now, and his career is not even over yet, so let's judge him if he's in the top 5 or 10 or whatever after. That'd be much easier to do. But to say he's won 3 championships, he went to the finals 9 times in a row with multiple teams. Some may say that's easier, some may say that's more difficult. He kind of negotiated his way through, like he was on the Miami Heat and they were kind of falling off, even though I'm pretty sure that they would have went to the finals again anyway. Might not have won, but they would have definitely went to the finals. He just wanted to be on a younger team. And he did it and he got there. So I don't understand this LeBron James isn't in the top 5 argument. I haven't even worked out my top 5 of all time, but LeBron James is in there. He might be the best overall basketball player we've ever seen as far as everything. Size, strength, rebounding, defense. Maybe not anymore on defense, obviously, but I'm saying in his prime, nobody could stop him. Just how no one could stop Jordan. No one can stop Tracy McGrady when he was going. Like, you know what I mean? Like these great offensive players that just Kevin Durant. I would say Kevin Durant. When Tracy McGrady is one of the best offensive players of all time. Like you're not stopping James Harden. James Harden has to have an off game for you to stop him. These all-time greats, Shaq, Kobe. You're not stopping these people. They're just, for some reason, have an off night, which happens because they're human beings. But Paul Pierce is a former, like I said, former NBA player, superstar, turned media member. And he says all these disrespectful things because apparently he has some kind of feud with LeBron James. They almost fought, quote unquote, in the back, whatever, basketball fighting. There's no fighters. These superstars who dedicate their life to basketball are not fighters. Now, if they hit somebody, obviously they're giants and they're going to kill somebody. But as far as technique and everything goes, no, they're not fighters. But they can't complain about media people. Like, they can't, no more. They can't complain about Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman or Skip Bayless and all them. They can't, because former NBA players become them. Become those media talking heads. And apparently, NBA players also have no idea what the hell they're talking about. If Paul Pierce really believes that, he also, well, what was that thing he said last year's playoffs? It was about the Milwaukee. Was it Milwaukee Bucks and Boston? Yeah, it was the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. It was after game one. Boston won. And Paul Pierce said, after one game, the series is over. It's over. I don't see how Milwaukee can come back and win this game. Oh, you don't? Have you ever lost a game? I'm pretty sure you have. Did you win the series? I'm pretty sure you did. You think the Boston Celtics and Milwaukee, game one is just going to go on repeat? You're not simulating a 2K game. And even in that, it's programmed to have different outcomes. What are you talking about? You cannot say after one game that any series is over. Now, I'm sorry. Getting a little upset. But I think that was all of the sports topics I had today. Yes. Okay. So now video games and my girlfriend. Oh, actually, no. False. I wanted to talk something I saw today. There's some NFL rule. It's an interesting rule, to say the least. It's incentivizing teams. If they hire a black coach, they will get rewarded. Or I don't know if it's black or if it's minority. But if they hire a minority coach, they will get incentivized by getting a higher pick. Now, I heard third round, they will get a higher pick. They will move up the rankings if they hire. I would be hiring a minority coach right now if this rule goes in. I don't know if it was just suggested because there's such an issue. Now that speaks on a different subject matter of why there's no black head coaches. There are not as many. But then you start wondering, what about Asian coaches? What about, but usually it's white and black in the NFL, and then there's mixtures of everything. But what about Samoan people? Can they have an argument? If it's just black head coaches, then I have a problem with that. It should be minorities. It should be all minorities. But it's just a really touchy subject. How but then you would get these black head coaches that get jobs, but then underneath, would they know that they're not really getting this head coaching job based on their merit, based on their accomplishments? Or if this is a rule that just is going to force teams to put minority head coaches in, and then we'll work it out later. It's kind of interesting. It's a private company. It's a private business. It's not a public business. So I don't know. I just can't imagine, say, McDonald's saying they have to hire a minority, but then you have a certain, I don't know. This is kind of, and to incentivize. The sports is supposed to be even. It's supposed to be even competition. Everybody has the same basically amount of resources, and then you compete. But if you give someone a better draft pick because of the color of their skin, is that, I don't know. It's just interesting to think about. And I think that, Michael Jordan on tape, we covered that. Yeah, I think that will conclude the sports talk portion of the podcast. Now, video games. God, I love me some video games. I played, my girl she saw me playing Sea of Thieves, and I put it up, I got it on my phone, streaming it. Now the connection was god-awful, but we had a lot of fun playing that game. But that's another talk. Been playing Assassin's Creed Origins, trying to get through that game. There are two small things that I do not like about this game. One, three. The HUD is very busy. It's not really. I'm finding as I get older, the HUD and all the shit that pops up on the screen, I don't like. I want to be immersed in the world. So that's bad. And these are two small nerdy little things that nobody at all is ever going to care about. But in the old Assassin's Creed games, you can run up a wall a little bit, and then you can jump to the right or left. So say if there was a big wall in front of you and then a platform a little bit lower to your right, you can jump, you can run up the wall and then jump to the right and latch on. You can't do that anymore, which I used a lot in the past Assassin's Creed games. They don't have it anymore. And another thing they don't have anymore is crowd walking. The coolest thing in Assassin's Creed is disappearing into a crowd. That was the whole point. The very first game, the crowd gimmick, or the crowd population, disappearing into a crowd, bumping people, sliding through, turning your shoulders, being like disappearing into the mass of humanity. That was cool. This game, none of that. I tried to hide in groups, nothing's happening. The only thing you can do is crouch and hide in bushes, like every other game in the world. Could we just have the Assassin's, this is the Assassin's Creed game, and then just add to it. If you want to add the RPG elements, the leveling up, the gold circle that pulses from my feet. This is a game that's you're supposed to relive your ancestors' memories. Did your ancestor level up like a video game character? I don't think so. Anyways. And then, it's more rails. Yeah, it's a little, I don't know, climbing down things weird, giving the option. Oh, yeah, there's a mission where you have to, there's 3 separate people, you meet them, you meet one, do a mission for him, and he sends you for another one, blah, blah, blah. So you have 3 missions, you find this ring, this gold ring, and they each want it, and you have to decide which one gets it, right? So you choose. You actually get to choose, and I'm like, okay, this is going to cause problems, they're going to fight over it, whatever. Then I choose the guy on the left, then it goes to a pre-canned animation cutscene of me walking away and then just throwing the ring over my head and having them fight over it. So it doesn't matter. So why design a mission where I have a choice and then my choice doesn't matter? It upsets me. Not greatly, but it upsets me. Now, this podcast might go a little bit longer, or I might talk about some other things, because we're coming up on the 30-minute mark. And I'm not intelligent enough to talk for more than 30 minutes. Now, okay. I got to talk about my girlfriend while she was sleeping for this next maybe 10 minutes or so. She, so I just want to clarify, I have weird, crazy nightmares where I wake up and I think I'm somewhere else on a consistent basis. And so, not making fun of her for dreaming and kicking. So when she sleeps, she like jerks. She has these little bolts of energy. And sometimes she kicks me, and it hurts. But I can't show weakness. But she doesn't usually, she like mumbles in her sleep a little bit, just like everybody else. But she did something the other day that I've never seen anybody do in the history of watching people sleep. And I watch people sleep a lot. So, I'm laying there watching whatever YouTube video I'm watching, being a loser. It's around midnight. I look over and she's moving around. I just want to make sure she's all right. And then she rolls over on her back. Her nose is up in the air. And then she rolls towards me on her right side. So she's facing me. And then all of a sudden she starts itching her nose a little bit, just ever so gently. You know how you feel the little hairs in your nose? She's just wiggling her nose a little bit. Her eyes are closed. She's breathing real heavy. And then all of a sudden she starts, the tip of the index finger goes so deep inside of her nose, and she just starts digging. She starts dig. When she was, I couldn't believe it. She was dead asleep, and I'm stunned. I'm sitting there stunned because this is top 10 things I've ever seen in my life. The sleep nose picker. I heard people sleepwalk. She's not on drugs. She doesn't take any. It was so funny. And one of the best parts was I start laughing hysterically, right? It wakes her up, and then she realizes what she's doing. Her finger is still in her nose, And and I'm just like, what are you doing? And she don't stop making fun of me. She starts laughing. It was one of the funniest things I may have ever witnessed in my life. It was, she always surprises me. She always surprises me with little dorky things. And she's terrible at talking shit. And she says the corniest things I've ever seen. It's like her brain is going faster than how she can talk. So when she's talking, when her brain puts together a sentence, she doesn't say that sentence and then move on to the next sentence. She is trying to say the second sentence before she even speaks the first one. I think that's how her brain works. So she picked her nose while sleeping. Then, this is another thing. She was afraid of a possum. She has 2 cats. And she was afraid of a possum. This is a different night. She was afraid of a possum, a singular possum, attacking her cats. But she said, an opossum. So I'm afraid of an opossum, of a opossum attacking my cats. I've never heard of an opossum, but apparently there's opossums and possums. So if there's a singular possum, it's a opossum, or an opossum, a opossum. And I argued with her for a good 5 to 10 minutes, or we had a polite discussion. And I guess opossum comes from the East Coast. People on the East Coast say opossum. But then there's 2 different types of possums. Opossums and possums. And so we just got really confused, and neither one of us felt very vindicated in our argument because it was all over the place. But what I thought is people on the East Coast pronounce things weird anyway. So it's really possum. Not opossum. Opossum? No. A possum. A possum. So I think people probably said, oh, look, there's a possum. And people thought a possum or opossum was the name of the damn animal. No, it's possum. I think I've said that word way too much already. Yeah, Assassin's Creed, girl picking her nose. We talked about Mike Tyson, blah, 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 all that good stuff. Okay, there's also, go back to video games for a second. I saw this article. It says PS5 secret weapon against Xbox Series X just revealed. Also, I have an Xbox, but I'm not an Xbox. I like Xbox. That's where I play on. I like PlayStation. I grew up on PlayStation. It says the upcoming Sony PS5 could have free instant game demos for every available title. So the secret weapon is just game previews, which they have on the consoles now. They have that. That's not a secret weapon. So this article, people who wrote this don't play video games. And do you remember game demos on the 360? Remember Fight Night, the very first game demo ever? It was a huge hit. Then nobody cared about it after that. Well, I'm not downloading a game demo to play the game, which is what YouTube is. We go on YouTube and watch videos. Does that game look interesting? Oh, okay, yeah. Unbelievable. And then, I posted this on social media. On my social media, it's the #1 Chase Carter 1 on Instagram. Follow me. NASA scientists detect evidence of parallel universe where time runs backward. Yeah. Low energy subatomic neutrinos with a mass close to 0 can pass completely through Earth, but higher energy objects are stopped by the solid mass of our planet, according to the report. That means the high energy particles can only be detected coming, quote unquote, down from space because there is no up or down in space. But the teams at ANITA detected heavier particles, so-called tau neutrinos, I think that's how you pronounce it, which come up, quote unquote, out of the Earth. The finding implies that particles are actually traveling backward in time, suggesting evidence of a parallel universe, according to the Daily Star. Now, my girlfriend I didn't look into this. I just read this New York Post article. Then my girlfriend said, well, there's articles saying that that's not true. But that's interesting nonetheless. What is it, Matt? Yeah, and then there's also, I want to do this. I'll always like reading these science articles. A mysterious anomaly weakening Earth's magnetic field seems to be splitting. So, new satellite data from the European Space Agency revealed mysterious anomaly weakening Earth's magnetic field continues to evolve. But then you read the thing, and it says this could be just random, and they don't know the reason for it. At present, there's nothing to be alarmed about, the ESA notes, that the most significant effects right now are largely limited to technical malfunctions on the broad satellites and spacecraft. That's the only thing that is getting affected by this, not us, because the magnetic field protects us against solar flares and radiation and all that stuff. Yeah, solar winds and cosmic radiation. But this stuff changes over the course of time. And then over the course of time, it said, what did it say? Not that the magnitude of the anomaly should be diminished, though. In the last 2 centuries, Earth's magnetic field has lost 9% of its strength on average. The ESA says, assisted by the drop in minimum field strength in the South Atlantic anomaly from approximately 24,000 nanoteslas to 22,000 nanoteslas over the past 50 years. So this is decreasing, but we don't know why it's decreasing. But it's just something to keep an eye on. But the headline scared the hell out of me. I'm like, I didn't even know about this. But, this has been going on since even before I was born. Okay, not that big of a deal. Oh, and another fun fact. My girlfriend owes me $4. We have this bet. She keeps leaving. She has cats, like I said earlier. And she has these little cat bowls. And she has this little plastic cat fork, and she scoops out the cat food and puts it in the bowl with this one cat fork, right? And she washed these cat bowls with the human bowls and then put them on the dryer part before I started coming over. And I said, that's not happening because I eat out of those bowls and I don't want that cat fork in with the human forks. And she kept putting it in. So I made a little space for the cat bowls and the cat fork to go, so it can dry off by itself, so it's away from the human things, away from the human utensils, right? Because that's the right thing to do, because we're human beings, we're not cats, right? And then it happened so often that I said, we're going to make a deal. I eat in the bed, and sometimes there's crumbs in the bed. And by crumbs, I mean she's found 2 over the course of the time I was with her. 2. Sometimes I left the crumbs in the bed on purpose just to be a dick because she hates crumbs. But that's besides the point. She's a very sensitive person. And if you can't sleep on a few crumbs, then you're soft and you need to harden up. That's my take on it. But so she and I made a bet. For every time she leaves the cat fork or bowl in the human drying rack, okay, and the cat food cannot be left in the sink. It can't. She soaks it or whatever. She leaves her dishes in the sink because they're soaking. It's like, no, you're just lazy, and I don't like dishes in the sink, so I'm going to wash the dishes because I don't like that clutter. I'm going to wash it, which is smart on her part. But I'm like, no, you're going to wash your dishes, and I'm going to wash my dishes, and then I'll wash the dishes at dinner. All of our dishes. I'll wash every dish every night. I'll do it. No problem. Kind of like washing dishes. She leaves me alone. She leaves. It's the time I get alone. She leaves because she doesn't like washing them. And I get time by myself. Which I enjoy time by myself. So I get $1 for every time the fork. But I get $1 for each item. There's 2 bowls and a fork. So if she leaves all 3 in the drying rack, I get $3. Okay, I'm very excited about this bet. But she found a crumb the other day. So it's down to $4. It was $5. But now it's 4. So I'm very excited about that. She found one. I want to be honest. She found one crumb. I was, a little lackadaisical when I was eating in there. I like eating laying down. I don't know why. She finds it weird. I would rather make a sandwich and go lay down in my bed on my stomach, watch a few YouTube videos, whatever, watch some Netflix, and relax. We just finished Kingdom. Spoiler alert. I'm not going to do one. I'm not going to spoil anything. There was one part of the show, and as a person who writes a lot, I would have done completely different, and it would have been way better. But I'm cherry picking, and I'm stupid, so it doesn't really matter. But the overall show, it's a good show. It's always going to end with nothing really being tied up, concluded correctly, because they're always going to want more episodes. It's a good show. I liked it. But they had the main character kill off a rival, but the rival, how can I don't think I can say this without spoiling anything, but the two people that listen to this, the main character, Uhtred, was fighting this Dane, the barbarian Viking guy. Okay, but he had a girlfriend who he took from his former friend, who he told someone to kill. If that makes sense. It was this Viking guy and his leader. He manipulated some other guy. That guy assassinated the leader. Then that guy became the leader, not the assassinated. I can't tell the story. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But it was bad writing. I can't even. Who the hell am I? I can't even say how the story was and then how I would correct it. But the girl needed to. The way they did it, they could have made it more drama, more anticipation. I guess that was a terrible try chase. Next time though. But this is the. I'll end it. I will. I will put myself out of my own misery after that, trying to explain that damn thing. But thanks for listening to the 2 or 3 people. If you have any comments, concerns on the Chase Carter Concept podcast, let me know. I'm open to suggestions. If you haven't figured out yet, 40 minutes in, I have no idea what I'm doing. So, but I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you listen next week. I appreciate it. This is Chase Carter, and thanks for listening.